Good afternoon, Los Angeles region, and welcome to the 2021 annual meeting. It has been a year of many ups and downs, and through it all, we worked as one Red Cross. Many of us have not seen each other in more than a year. We have not seen our Red Cross building and vehicles in more than a year, nor have we seen our region in more than a year. Therefore, we dedicate this annual meeting to all of you and the region we love. Your perseverance and compassion is the power that pushed us through. We truly are the Los Angeles region, the region of angels.
Hello and welcome to the 2021 annual meeting. I'm Joanne Allen, and I'm the CEO of the American Red Cross for Los Angeles region. I'm standing at the site of the devastating Saddle Bridge fire that occurred in 2019. The Red Cross quickly stood up a large disaster relief operation right here. We opened 5 shelters, and we continue to help this community with their recovery. Our response was only possible with the power of volunteers and generosity of our donors, and I am so grateful. So 1 year ago, in the middle of the pandemic, I arrived in Los Angeles. Thank you all for welcoming me to the region with open arms. I'm honored to be the first woman CEO of the LA region, and I truly appreciate how you have allowed me to come in and hit the ground running. You embraced my enthusiasm and joined me in an exploration of the region as we got to know one another. Over the past year, all of us have been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic with so much loss. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of people were affected by disasters, including the record-setting wildfires right here in California, along the Pacific coast, as well as multiple destructive hurricanes along the Gulf Coast. And through it all, the Los Angeles region came together to support our local operations as well as relief operations across the country. It was inspiring to see what we can do when we are called on. The LA region leads by example and leads by knowledge and understanding how best to provide services to our clients. I am honored to lead this team of talented and dedicated Red Crossers. We faced a lot of challenges together, and I thank you for standing beside me as we ventured through the first year together. I am looking forward to what the next year will bring. Thank you.
2020 isn't a year any of us will soon forget. Our main priorities were responding to the COVID-19 pandemic and the wildfire season. Please join us as we share the work we've done in these 2 major areas of work in the year that was.
Hi, my name is Wendy Wang, and I am a Red Cross youth volunteer with the American Red Cross. Many of you have not seen this building or been inside. This is the Red Cross LA Region Warehouse in Bell, California. Now, this is where most of our equipment and supplies are stored. And during this past year, this is where the boxes and boxes of PPE, water, masks, and hand sanitizers were kept before distributing them into the community. This might not be iconic to LA, but it is significantly iconic to us. In March 2020, COVID-19 had taken hold of the Los Angeles region, and it wasn't going to let go. For the first time in my memory, our streets were empty. The skies cleared up of smog, the noise died down, and we all huddled at home. But because we are the Red Cross, we can never just sit to the side. After more than 1,200 Red Cross volunteers reported to the Los Angeles Unified Grab-and-Go sites for 15 weeks and distributed more than 40 million meals, the Red Cross continued this work into FY21. Working with other local partners, we assembled more than 34,700 meals at the LA Food Bank Warehouse in Commerce, distributed more than 35,600 meals at YMCA Centers of Metropolitan Los Angeles, assembled more than 40,300 meals at Khalsa Care Foundation in Pacoima, and distributed more than 2,000 meals at Sowing Seeds for Life Food Bank in Laverne. Facing the new normal head-on, Red Cross LA continued its work through new avenues, trying to reach the broader community about disaster preparedness. AmeriCorps members alone educated more than 25,800 individuals. While this was happening on the humanitarian front, on the biomed front, the Brave team kept going to work, showing up at drives, taking blood, and processing what needed to get out. The need for blood was never going to go away, and as one of the largest suppliers, we knew what we had to do. And then a small ray of hope appeared in the form of convalescent plasma, offering some relief to those who were suffering. We went to work to get the word out. Of course, as this was going on, we received the first internal announcement that this disaster season was going to be one of the worst in recorded history. We had to plan, replan, plan, and then replan again how we were going to put COVID-19 protocols in place. How are we going to ensure safety to our clients and to ourselves? We knew it was not going to be easy, but we didn't know it was going to be as tough as it was. All the while, we took care of our own. A small, committed group of Red Crossers started checking in on others, until organically, the Wellness Project, as it came to be known, made more than 2,000 calls with the help of 90 volunteers. Now, if you received one of those calls, we hope you felt how much we care for each other. As COVID-19 cases continued to increase and the pandemic took a turn for the worse, we offered services wherever we could. Though it had been tough in LA all year, at the turn on the new year, our county became the epicenter for the virus. That was scary. Every ambulance that went by, we wondered if that was someone being rushed to the hospital. It came to a point that the hospital stopped accepting serious cases because they didn't have the capacity. We didn't let this stop us either. We launched 3 programs to deliver PPE to coalitions. Partnering up with the mayor's office and LAFD, we created and delivered COVID care kits. With our PLA coalitions, we created PPE kits for them to deliver in the community. We handed out 1 million masks to nonprofits and organizations that work with children to ensure their safety. Which brings us to today. The vaccine has arrived and most of our region is slowly getting vaccinated. COVID-19 cases are decreasing and we have gone from a purple to red to now yellow state. Sound alarm is officially back. Life looks like it is slowly creeping back and all we can do is reflect on the year that was and take lessons for next time.
Last year, the wildfire seemed endless. All the West Coast was on fire, and each day we held our breath that a new one wouldn't erupt. We pored over images of blood-red skies, residents huddled in shelters, homes and landscapes destroyed. As fiscal year 20 ended and the team hurried and tied up all the operations, we received the first internal announcement that this disaster season for fiscal year 21 was going to be worst in recorded history. After the initial shock was over, because how could things get worse? We went to work, we planned, we replanned, and replanned again. How are we going to put COVID-19 protocols in place as we helped residents find shelter? How are we going to ensure the safety of our clients and our team? How are we going to address all their needs? We knew it wasn't going to be easy, but we didn't know it was going to be as tough as it was. The first wildfire hit in Northern California when a freak lightning storm struck. And from then on, the fires wouldn't stop, and new ones kept popping up. In LA, we responded to the Soledad, Lake, and Bobcat fires, and we deployed more than 300 people to other regions to offer our support. From Seattle to San Diego, LA region responders were known for showing up when needed, offering support, and providing excellent service. As disaster relief operations raged on, we offered services wherever we could. In November, things finally took a turn for the wildfires, and they began to die down, and people were finally able to go home. Since the beginning of the year, more than 9,200 wildfires have burned more than 4.1 million acres in California, damaging or destroying approximately 10,400 structures. Many Angelinos deployed both in person and virtually to assist with the relief efforts in Northern California and Oregon amid several simultaneous record-breaking wildfires across the West Coast. The amount of preparation allowed for the region to send the highest number of volunteers into the area aside from the responding region. The Red Cross and our partners have helped by facilitating more than 242,000 overnight stays, serving more than 816,300 meals and snacks, distributing more than 53,000 relief items, making more than 49,400 individual care contacts, providing more than 1,600 households with emergency financial assistance. As we close out fiscal year 21 and prepare for fiscal year 22, once again we have been alerted that this year is expected to be another intense wildfire season, worse than last year. Are you ready for this? Yes, we are LA, and we are ready to help whenever we are needed.
As we travel through each department, let's start with the 3 departments that are the backbone of the region, ensuring that we are supported and strong. They keep us running with grace and elegance.
Alexis Agrensoni, and I'm the Regional Recovery Manager for the Los Angeles region. Hidden away in Compton beside the Compton City Hall is this beautiful memorial to the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The large sculpture of angled white planes is arranged in a circle and converges at the top. It was designed by the artist Gerald Gladstone to be a tribute to the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and was delivered to Memphis, Tennessee on April 3rd, 1968, the day before his assassination. This powerful monument speaks volume about the promise of Compton and the LA region. From here, we acknowledge the business operations team, which manages all of the region's budget finance, human resources, IT, and administrative needs, as well as the daily operations of our Red Cross chapter buildings. One could even call them a hidden gem of the organization. While this past year was our most challenging yet, they kept the region running, supporting staff and volunteers despite the pandemic. The business operations team supported the 4 chapter executive directors and their respected boards of director and Prepare LA Resiliency Coalition, which includes administrative support and chapter boards, fundraising campaigns. They kept our facilities operationally functional throughout the pandemic, which included implementation and enforcement of COVID-19 safety protocols, as well as daily operational tasks like mail pickup. They managed all incoming calls to front desks throughout the region. Despite the buildings being closed, they hosted virtual quarterly all-staff trainings and more than a dozen other virtual training opportunities to help keep our staff connected as Red Crossers while working from home and to continue to invest in our staff's future success. They hosted a drive-through employee thankathon to boost and maintain employee morale. They managed implementation and accountability for our LA region anti-racism action plan and our Engage action plan. They ensured effective stewardship of the donor dollar by providing effective management, oversight, and accountability of the region's budget. Phew! Now that's a lot. And we are so thankful to this team for being our backbone and making sure we're running even if they were behind the scenes. I couldn't leave here without sharing the last words from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Mountaintop Speech. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop and I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as people will get to the promised land. In a metropolitan area of more than 12 million people, almost 50% identify themselves as Latino or Hispanic. There are several neighborhoods like this one, Boyle Heights, where the last census estimated that percentage to be 90%. The U.S. Latino population has multiplied more than 6 times since 1970, and last year passed the 60.6 million mark. There is change coming to our region, and the Red Cross LA is proud of where we've been and where we're about to go. I'm proud to stand here in Mariachi Plaza, in the heart of Boyle Heights. Before the pandemic, dozens of Los Angeles musicians gathered at Mariachi Plaza, the meeting place of Boyle Heights and the emblem of the Chicanos of the Californian city that for decades has served as a bridge between Mexico and the United States. This simple gazebo has brought many people together and a reminder of what we can do when we work together. Working together, the Red Cross Fleet and Facilities Department keeps us moving and keeps us safe. Our vehicles stand ready and waiting for a Red Crosser to jump in and rush out to a wildfire. In addition, our buildings bring us together to respond to disasters. This year, Fleet and Facilities was excited to celebrate our first birthday in the amazing new downtown LA building. When COVID-19 shut down our offices, it was Fleet and Facilities that quickly reacted to keeping us safe and keeping COVID-19 out. In the last 3 months, the Fleet and Facilities team has implemented new strict guidelines on vehicle cleaning, facilities cleaning, and the setup of 6 temperature screening stations in facilities across the region, all while maintaining our closed facilities. All of this could not be possible without our leaders offering the team their full support and equipment to perform our duties. This crew has done a great job moving forward, accomplishing tasks efficiently and effectively. In addition, they supported the expanded AmeriCorps program with vehicles around the region, upgraded security in several facilities, and managed the continuous oversight of more than 120 vehicles in biomed and humanitarian services, including 6 bloodmobiles and the pièce de résistance. We were gifted 5 Toyota Mirais hydrogen-fueled vehicles as part of our initiative to care for our environment. I would like to commend the team for a job well done, particularly in adapting to our new environment. It has been truly a once-in-a-lifetime scenario, and the employees and the volunteers have managed to continue giving excellent customer service practices as well as maintaining the building at the ready in order to protect us from infectious viruses, all while being ready to welcome everyone when it's time to return back to a new, somewhat normal.
Pantages Theater is home to many wonderful productions, and as many of you may remember, when COVID-19 hit, we had to put away our Hamilton tickets for another day. Built in 1930, the Pantages has been home to vaudeville, plays, theatrical productions, concerts, and Red Cross blood drives. We are so thankful for their partnership and their constant support as we work through an incredibly emotional and significant time for our country and organization. Through it all, Biomedical Blood Services has stayed true to serving our mission with our continued focus in our daily efforts to meet our hospital transfusion needs and helping to save lives. The impact COVID-19 has had on Biomedical Blood Services has been truly historic. This past year, the Red Cross LA region had hundreds of blood drives canceled and 1,000 of blood donors taken off our schedules and calendars, including all high schools and colleges, which makes up approximately 28% of the blood that the LA region collects. A call to action was quickly established to ensure added safety measures were implemented at blood drives and were quickly put in place. Local and state officials supported the messaging that donating blood was essential and needed, and the public stepped up in a historic fashion and helped us boost the blood supply to an adequate and stable supply. The LA Region team, led by Joanne Nowlin and the board, contributed phenomenal support, stepping up to provide new blood drive opportunities, and many board members hosted emergency drives to support our needs, with many local government officials donating, as well as our board members. The Los Angeles region has continued to shine related to meeting performance goals and objectives, collecting at or above blood collection goal in all months throughout this fiscal year. In addition to keeping our staff, volunteers, and blood donors safe, this year, the LA region has collected over 125,000 units of life-saving blood and is collecting blood at 111% of the goal, collecting over 12,000 units above and beyond goal projections of the region. This not only stabilized our local blood supply, but also many times throughout the year, blood was being exported to other areas across the country to ensure an adequate inventory throughout the whole U.S., especially in those areas struggling to collect to their goal. Many thanks to all of you, Joanne Nowlin and our LA Region Humanitarian Services team, and our dedicated board members and volunteers, as you were all key contributors to our success. Together, we stepped up to ensure an adequate supply of blood throughout this challenging and historic year and saved many lives.
Though this past year kept most of us indoors, the following three departments responded to the needs of the community. From DAT calls to helping military veterans, these departments kept our mission moving forward.
The Venice skate park is neither a disaster nor an emergency. There is no DAT call to be made or shelter to be erected. And though everyone here could be educated about preparedness, I doubt they will slow down to even let me try. Why are we here to talk about disaster cycle services? Simple. It's one of the coolest landmarks in LA. It took a 20-year battle to build this 16,000 square foot skate park, which is said to be the most expensive skate park in the world, only in LA. And of course, as DCS, we will always show up to help the county and all 10 million who live here. This has been an active and tough year that has pushed DCS to the edges of our limits. We were demanded to give and then give some more. Despite all of that, the DCS team was able to show up and help individuals, families, and communities wherever and whenever help was needed. In this past fiscal year, volunteers and staff responded to 341 local disasters, starting with the lake and bobcat fires. When we first sat down and thought about how this year would unfold, we prepared at great lengths to make sure clients would feel comfortable and safe. Everyone had to wear masks, cleaning had to be increased, and social distance had to be built in. We had to walk through many parameters to cover all of our bases. We opened temporary evacuations and offered non-congregate shelters. Plus, our EOC went virtual, with the team running the major operation from their living rooms. Through the year, we served more than 2,000 people, providing the comforts of life, shelter, food, and a shoulder to cry on. Beyond helping locally, more than 200 LA Red Crossers supported disaster response elsewhere in the state and country, deploying to aid those who were affected by wildfires, floods, and winter storms. Los Angeles volunteers also deployed to Texas to provide support to unaccompanied minors crossing into the country. To stay ready, more than 500 volunteers participated in 28 virtual disaster simulations during the course of the year, and Los Angeles led the way in virtual preparedness, educating more than 60,000 adults and youth through our online disaster preparedness programs. Looking beyond initial response towards sustainability for the most vulnerable, LA Region volunteers also provided recovery services to more than 300 families since the launch of RC Care in December 2020.
We salute our service to the Armed Forces team from the USS Iowa, anchored here in San Pedro. Built in 1940, the USS Iowa saw 4 decades of action, including World War II, the Korean War, and the Cold War. Today, 80 years on, the ship is permanently docked here in LA's harbor. The USS Iowa stirs the sense of hope felt when emerging from dark and difficult times. When the COVID-19 pandemic created blockades, our services to the Armed Forces team never skipped a step, even while transitioning to a virtual workspace. While setting up our base camps from home, we also responded to over 400 emergency community cases and briefed 1,611 service members during their respective virtual meetings. We also responded to and provided services for more than 2,041 critical community cases. In addition, we provided 114 service members, veterans, and their family members with in-depth virtual resiliency workshops, generously provided by our licensed mental health facilitators. Also, in response to COVID-19, we partnered with the West Los Angeles Veterans Affairs Hospital, supporting a food drive that provided 150 veterans monthly food and hygiene items. But we didn't stop there. Continuing to push the envelope, the SAF team reached out to support homeless veterans living on the West Los Angeles VA campus with hygiene kits, masks, clothing, and backpacks, while 15 volunteers supported the COVID-19 vaccination program at the West LA VA hospital. As we expanded virtual community support, 15 volunteers participated in the Compassionate Contact Corps program, where veterans request to receive a weekly social call from a friendly Red Crosser. With the help of board members, we partnered again with the West LA VA and the Women Veterans Cohort to improve the lives of women enrolled in the Veterans Rehabilitation Program. Alongside our community partners, we helped women veterans prepare for future employment with workshops on job searching, resume writing, interview etiquette, and more. Another passion project launched last July engaged SAF volunteers to assemble and distribute Red Cross tote bags to women veterans. The gifts contain hygiene products, socks, slippers, makeup, board games, puzzles, and handmade jewelry, crafted and donated by a volunteer. Over the course of the year, SAF distributed over 64,000 items to Long Beach and West LA VA-based veterans, including hard-to-get personal protective equipment in high demand due to the pandemic. Additionally, our SAF youth volunteers organized a series of projects, including a veteran wish list drive, which gathered hygiene items to distribute amongst veterans in need. In addition to all the traditional services and supplies we provide annually to LA's veterans, a battalion of volunteers armed with thread and needles hand-sewed and distributed more than 300 face coverings to hospitals and military families. Despite any obstacles or setbacks the past year presented, our SAF team forged ahead with a line of service that delivered kindness and hope to the women, men, and families who also served selflessly during difficult times. I am here at the Korean Bell of Friendship in San Pedro, a symbol of international goodwill and harmony. This massive, ornate bell was a gift to the people of Los Angeles by the Republic of Korea, created to celebrate the bicentennial of U.S. independence, honor veterans of the Korean War, and consolidate a friendship between two countries. Our international services team, led by Mural also brings communities and countries together and has had a year of great perseverance and flexibility. In the past year, we supported 682 people through our Restoring Family Links program, and 546 in international humanitarian law outreach. A success realized by staying connected with Los Angeles-based consulates and other international organizations. Their efforts included hosting a virtual consulate meeting with the Honduran Consul General and Vice Consul General to provide a briefing on restoring family links and disaster preparedness services. The meeting resulted in the signing of a memorandum and understanding between the Honduran Consulate in Los Angeles and our international services team. We then were invited to attend the Honduran Consulate's inauguración de la Ventanilla Íntegra de Recursos Comunitarios at the Honduran Consulate in LA. International Services also provided resource and referral aid to Argentina Consulate, who was requesting assistance for Argentinians who were stranded due to pandemic-related flight cancellations. The Los Angeles region was also part of a beta program to promote the Youth Action Campaign. This campaign empowered youth to educate their peers and community on the importance and relevance of international humanitarian law. Through the dedicated efforts of 4 youth coordinators, 10 youth action campaign teams, and 100 youth advocates, engaged and activated more than 1,850 youth colleagues. The team also educated 158 non-youth volunteers about international humanitarian law. These metrics prove we are both reaching and leaving a mark in our communities. It's not just about the numbers, it's the human element that matters most. The American Red Cross received an inquiry from an uncle of a soldier missing in action during the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. This uncle had video evidence that his nephew was at one point in the hands of the opposing party. The uncle was concerned that his nephew was injured and might be exposed to physical neglect and possible torture. With guidance from the International Red Cross and Red Crescent and national headquarters, an LA Red Cross caseworker was able to conduct a Restoring Family Link intake interview with the uncle to gather as much information about the situation, including the cause of the disappearance, details about the missing soldier, his family, etc. They submitted the case as a high priority case to the national team, who then sent it to the Yerevan ICRC and Armenian Red Cross. After a few months, word came that the case here in the US would be closed, as the ICRC Yerevan team learned that the nephew was located by the ICRC in a POW prison. He was in good health and was able to stay in contact with family by phone. The family was only waiting to learn when their nephew would be released from captivity. Much like the ringing of a very large bell, the work of our international services team can be heard and felt far and wide. This bell of friendship truly represents the world our international services team is trying to create.
In addition to service delivery, our mission is built on supporting the community. We are grateful to these departments for their continuous outreach and connection to the vulnerable and at risk.
As the world continued to grasp the long-term impact of COVID-19, the American Red Cross Los Angeles Region's Volunteer Services team entered a new fiscal year, one marked with large goals, even amidst a changed world and a very different volunteer landscape. Volunteer Services worked hand in hand with Disaster Cycle Services to support a successful seasonal readiness campaign to boost trained volunteers in our new hoteling and TEP environments for the COVID-19 disaster season. We recruited 277 volunteers to be ready to serve, and that they did. Met with the most devastating fires to date, Volunteer Services supported the California, Oregon, and Los Angeles fires from July through November. In February of this year, the disasters paused, allowing the region to recognize hundreds of volunteers at the annual Volunteer Excellence Awards. This year, though virtual, volunteers received recognition pens for years of service, executive pins for hours of service, and awards for exemplary volunteerism that went above and beyond. A special thank you to California Jones for his participation in this beloved recognition event. Spring saw the return of National Sound the Alarm, albeit in a very different form. Volunteer services, with the immense help of our youth program, trained and performed virtual fire safety education presentations to our community members. Your volunteer services team has maintained a steady volunteer satisfaction, new volunteer satisfaction, and volunteer employee teamwork score, the steadiest in the region more than any other year, which speaks volumes to the relationships and culture of our teams, especially during this harrowing and unknown time. We are proud to be LA. Team members pivoted to support disaster staffing and leveraged relationships with LinkedIn, faith-based partners, and every online platform to exceed volunteer and blood donation demand. Others shifted community outreach and youth events to new programming like virtual community conversations to continue partner engagement. The team exceeded the goal of engaging 70% of the region's volunteers by leveraging commitment, compassion, collaboration, and creativity to do so. This is especially big for the Los Angeles region, where a huge percent, 44% of volunteers are youth compared to any other region in the Pacific Division. Volunteers turned up and turned out to fill positions like never before by filling transportation roles and blood donor ambassador roles in biomed, saving hundreds of lives and hitting a record high of 98% fill rate of those mission critical positions. The goal is actually 90%. Incredible. Thank you to each and every volunteer who responded within the new COVID-19 guidelines, transported blood, went on a DAT call, worked with veterans, supported fleet and building management, helped our fundraisers, took pictures, joined a virtual meeting, read a newsletter, and served in meaningful ways during an unprecedented time.
Opened in 1901, the Angels Flight Railway is one of LA's hidden gems. You might have seen it in La La Land or on TV shows like Perry Mason. Most likely, you simply walked by it not knowing that it's the oldest running, shortest railroad in the country. Carrying more than 100 million riders on its hillside track, much like Angels Flight, the Red Cross Youth Corps, which supports hundreds and thousands of Red Crossers, is an arm of our region that you may have walked right by. 30% of our region's service delivery hours are carried out by youth and young adults through the Red Cross Youth Corps, the Leadership Development Camp, the Ready Teens program, and summer internships. That is roughly 55,000 hours. Each year, 70 youth leaders are elected by their peers to serve on 10 youth executive boards that help set mission goals for the Youth Corps, 123 participating Red Cross clubs, and 3,518 volunteer hours. Did you catch all those numbers? Basically, that equates to a lot of youth. These youth are unstoppable. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, the youth team quickly adapted their events and activities to a virtual space, bumping up recorded volunteer hours and overall engagement. These leaders hosted a minimum of 2 virtual events per week, averaging an attending of 150 youth. This proves one thing: extended computer screen viewing isn't always a bad thing. Through the new Ready Teens program, which was developed and launched by the youth, it has educated 105 participants nationwide on disaster preparation, response, and recovery. By educating 1,749 youth in disaster preparedness, engaging 22 youth volunteers as homes made safer presenters, and educating 77 families, our youth volunteers strengthen our communities' preparedness with specific focus on vulnerable and at-risk populations. The youth groups also support our mission through fundraising and collection drives. This past year, they raised more than $3,000 for disaster relief and hosted multiple drives, collecting essential items for service to the armed forces, wish list, and international services. Welcome Home Refugee campaigns. Despite the limitations of a pandemic, the Youth Corps engaged 2,288 youth for a total of 51,668 community service hours. Embracing their leadership and online meeting skills, youth leaders created a successful, inclusive volunteer experience for their peers, with 60% of youth members eager to recommend the program to their friends and their family. While the pandemic decreased the number of regional blood drives, the support of our Youth Corps helped us collect 1,399 pints of blood, which helped save up to 4,197 lives. Last August, the annual Leadership Development Conference, which virtually makes it possible for the LA region to invite 4 other regions to be part of the program. With 110 youth participating last year, we hope to welcome 140 youth for a virtual 5-day conference this August. And speaking of angels taking flight, 20 interns graduated from last summer's internship program after serving the mission for more than 2,000 hours. In a couple of weeks, our 2021 virtual summer internship program will welcome 25 new interns servicing 10 regional departments. Even with the pandemic and the constant uncertainties in the world, of our ambitious youth leaders and members continue to educate and empower their communities to prepare for and respond to disasters while executing our Red Cross mission. We are proud to be fostering thousands of lifelong humanitarians in our city of angels. It's been a year of change and adjustments for AmeriCorps, and like the Rose Bowl Stadium, we find ourselves facing a year of cancellation and innovative programming. But unlike the Rose Bowl, we didn't have to relocate our activities to Texas. In fiscal year 2020, the Los Angeles region hosted 21 AmeriCorps members across 2 programs, the California State Corps and the California AmeriCorps Disaster Team. Despite the challenges of working remotely, AmeriCorps programs engaged critical emergency response activities such as DAT calls and disaster client recovery casework, supporting local households during some of their most tiring times. Members across both programs made it their priority to lend a hand wherever there was a need, and deployed virtually to help non-congregate sheltering operations in the Cascades region and supported recovery efforts in the communities affected during the Bobcat fire. Members also deployed in person to help migrants along our southern U.S. border, as well as Nashville to help recovery efforts with the Latino community following the recent floods. Through all of these efforts, members supported 3,874 individuals. In response to the unprecedented needs of the pandemic, the California Service Commission deployed every single LA Region disaster team member to vaccination sites at Dodger Stadium and Kendron Health Center, which led to formal partnership through the end of May 2021. These AmeriCorps members contributed to the vaccination of more than 200,000 Angelenos over the course of 2 months. And today, members across both the Safe Corps and Disaster Action Team have continued this vital work at Kendron Health Center. In addition to the dozens of disaster response operations, members also made it a priority to engage community with preparedness education all year long. Members delivered pillowcase projects, Preparedness with Pedro project, and Be Red Cross Ready presentations on virtual platforms. Most recently, members supported the launch of our hybrid Sound the Alarm campaign across all these activities. Across all these activities, AmeriCorps members have educated 3,226 community members about disaster preparedness. Members who worked with volunteer services have also been remarkably busy. Our youth and young adults team demonstrated admirable flexibility as they came up with innovative ways to engage with youth and foster leadership and develop opportunities. These members rose to the occasion by garnering impressive attendance at their regular meetings with students who were already spent an entire day on their virtual classroom. AmeriCorps members supporting the service to the armed forces and International Service Department tirelessly lended a hand to the military families in their hours of need. This mighty team offered their services in sending emergency communication messages to veterans who were unable to pick up essential supplies due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our AmeriCorps members are a public-facing team. They join our programs to have direct and meaningful exchanges within the communities we serve and gain firsthand experience in the field. Despite the limitations of COVID-19 health emergency, many members made this conscious choice to safely meet the needs of the community by any means necessary. AmeriCorps members, on behalf of the Los Angeles region, thank you for your contribution to the Red Cross mission, to the AmeriCorps mission, and to the Los Angeles community.
Traveling around the region means a visit to each of our 4 chapters. This is where the work happens and where the rubber meets the road. We are thankful for the executive directors, the DPXs, and the entire chapter for being the Red Cross link to the community.
You may have seen the Guardian mural several times while driving down Broadway or 11th Streets. This beautiful mural by Chilean muralist Francisco Letelier spans the south wall of the Western Los Angeles chapter office, and as you can see, it depicts a woman with long, flowing hair. The mural, inspired by Gustav Klimt, was painted in partnership with Beauty Earth because they thought the building could use a little love. With his strong Red Cross connection, Letelier was happy to take on the mural. Letelier said that his father was in prison after the coup in Chile. The International Red Cross was the first agency to see the prisoners, bring the family information about his condition, and act as intermediary with the military to convey food and clothing to them. And for that, we were gifted this great treasure and guardian that watches over us in good and bad times. With thanks to all of the volunteers, board members, staff, and AmeriCorps who walk past this wall, we thank you for your service and dedication. Last year, the Western Los Angeles chapter was called into action. First, for the Los Angeles Unified School District, and second, for the Westlake Pico Union community. Starting with Los Angeles Unified, Western Los Angeles joined volunteers from across the Red Cross to jump in to help. With support from local elected officials, we were part of the team that began providing drive-through meals. As the pandemic continued, the Western Los Angeles chapter area was witness to the sad truth that some communities were impacted much harder than others. Communities such as Westlake Pico Union and South LA had some of the highest rates of COVID-19 related deaths in the county. Our Prepare LA campaign, which has been a mainstay in Westlake, Pico Union, and South LA for the last 3 years, allowed us to quickly harness resources. Westlake Pico Union members of the coalition created rapid response teams to secure and distribute personal protective equipment and flyers on how to stay safe in multiple languages, which were distributed throughout the community. Springing into action was not just limited to COVID-19 work. As blood donations dropped, our Westlake Pico Union Prepare LA coalition was instrumental in securing a blood drive at the LA football stadium at Bank of California Stadium in Exposition Park. Thank you to all those who continue to support the organization by making donations, opening connections for blood drives, and being strong ambassadors for the American Red Cross.
We couldn't go on a tour of the region without a Hollywood stop. It's why everyone comes here. This is Hollywood. Many of the major film and TV studios have supported us throughout the years. We are so honored by all those who have opened their doors to us, helped us through disasters, and supported us financially. Why am I standing here? Well, Warner Brothers is the home to the ultimate caped crusader, Batman. Batman is great for Hollywood, but out here in the IRL, we know that not all heroes wear capes. And the Red Cross in Northern Valley's chapter and Territory 1 are proof of that. From blue skies to gray skies, we were all pushed to the max, and each member came out showing the best of themselves. We started the year with several meal distribution missions. Volunteers have been supporting the communities by helping the Los Angeles Unified distribution sites. We are all in this together, and that one partnership led to so many more, including a new partnership between Territory 1 and the Casa Care Foundation, with volunteers supporting on a daily basis for more than 3 months. Then the wildfires hit, and the Territory went into action when the Bobcat fire spread from Arcadia to the hillside communities of Juniper Hills, Llano, and Palmdale. It was an unpredictable blaze, which resulted in sleepless nights and the opening and closing of temporary evacuation points. Though the evacuation efforts were small, we were the first region and territories to test our COVID-19 safety precautions. Unfortunately, wildfires were not the only disaster response. We saw an uptick in home fires and had more than 150 responses, one which resulted in a 3-week response in Panorama City. Despite all the difficulties, the team excelled. In addition to adjusting to virtual work and virtual disaster response, we saw many changes within the chapter and territory leadership. We recently said goodbye to Disaster Program Specialist Aubrey Buchelman, who will be moving on to LA County. We said goodbye to former Executive Director Raul Colados, and hello to Hector Lafarga, and sadly goodbye to Hector. And then hello to the fearless Norma Vega as the Interim Executive Director for the Northern Valleys chapter. In addition to the Executive Director role, Norma has also led the way in partnering with Supervisor Hilda Solis and Rep. Tony Cardenas' office for PPE distribution. Though the distribution took place on a rainy day, it was a great event with hundreds of PPE bags handed out to community members. As we look forward to fiscal year 22, we have finally moved out of the Glendale office as the operations team looks for our new home, and we welcome a new executive director and begin to mobilize for what is predicted to be another intense wildfire season. Until then, the Northern Valleys chapter and T1 team knows that any hurdle thrown our way will not stop us from delivering excellent service, even if it's virtual. Surrounded by controversy and the deeply rooted in our history, I'm standing by the San Gabriel Mission, which is the 4th of 21 missions that run along the coast of the Golden State from San Diego to San Francisco. Built in the late 18th century by Spain, these missions were an effort to convert Native Americans to Catholicism and expand the European territory, bringing with them many new cultural and religious ideas to California. Located in Alhambra, the mission sits close to the Angeles National Forest, where last September the Bobcat fire started and we opened up our first temporary evacuation point. I say first because as the wildfire grew larger and larger, ranging from Sierra Madre and Duarte into Lancaster and Palmdale, we opened multiple temporary evacuation points to aid the dozens of foothill communities threatened by the blaze. Our trained and experienced teams raced into unison to prepare, respond, and support in the name of disaster relief. For the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys chapter, 2020 was an eventful year where we continually faced the unknown, but did so with such grace and a strong will to serve the Red Cross mission. Executive Director Erica Fraslo Aguado and the amazing Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys board members rallied to host blood drives and pledge funds, which resulted in acquiring 2 new vehicles for transporting life-saving blood throughout the region. Board Chair Gene Jeffers continued to man the helm along with Erica, resulting in 100% board committee engagement as well as welcoming 2 new members Ethan Solove, and Steven Storbakken. We are deeply grateful for their dedication and commitment, and even though Jean's extraordinary service as board chair will end soon, we are eager to welcome Todd Blecka as the new board chair. Many may know Todd for his incredible disaster action team work, but he is also the latest recipient of the Spirit of the Pacific Award, the first individual in the Los Angeles region to achieve this honor. We are so fortunate to have this team filled with grace and compassion. The Disaster Cycle Services team stayed busy, and an uptick in disasters, including fires throughout the territory and even 2 local explosive threat incidents. At one point, we paused to wish Disaster Program Manager Scott Sapers a fond farewell, while also celebrating his promotion to Regional Mass Care and Logistics Manager. Until new leadership joins our ranks, our phenomenal Disaster Program Specialist, Jennifer Dutton, has everything under control. Even COVID-19 couldn't stop us from serving the mission throughout the territory. We simply adjusted our workflow to fit the new realities. Thanks to the 47 active youth clubs, 12 community volunteer leaders, and their 16 board members, the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valley chapter were leaders in the blood drive referral program and had stellar engagement for their Prepare LA campaign. This committed and passionate chapter provided the communities of El Monte, South El Monte, South San Gabriel, Rosemead, Pomona, and newly added community Baldwin Park. Congratulations, we met our ultimate mission goals.
Hi, my name's Amira Seebach, and I'm the Director of Corporate Partnerships for the Los Angeles region. Known as the Gray Ghost because of her stealth and stark color, the Queen Mary sailed on her maiden voyage on May 27, 1936, and won the Blue Ribbon that August. Purchased by the city of Long Beach, the Queen Mary is permanently moored here as a tourist attraction, hotel, museum, and event facility. The Red Cross chapter serving Greater Long Beach, South Bay, Metro, and Southeast Los Angeles is proud to serve a city and area that is home to amazing landmarks and historical references. This chapter, along with its 2,700 plus Red Cross volunteers, provides services and engagement opportunities to residents in 40 cities and 14 unincorporated areas in LA County. The chapter is led by a committed and dynamic team, including a 25-member board chaired by Braden Phillips, who led 6 service line committees, including mission, philanthropy, diversity, equity, and inclusion, community outreach, biomed, and board development, 10 community volunteer leaders who build capacity, increase awareness, share information and resources, and help meet the critical need for blood donations, hundreds of disaster cycle services volunteers who provide preparedness, response, and recovery support, service line volunteers who support our military, veterans and their families, international efforts, biomed, training services, and volunteer services, and a dedicated staff team including Executive Director Veronica Garcia Davalos, Disaster Program Managers Nadan Rambo and Andrea Ritter, Disaster Program Specialists Chris Campbell-J and Ryan Chan, and Business Operations Specialist Viviana Haro Cueto. This time last year, we all faced new concepts such as virtual training, mask mandates, non-congregate sheltering, TEPs, and social distancing, yet we persevered. And the sleeves up, hearts open, all-in motto materialized. A few highlights include the annual Hometown Heroes event. This May it was postponed. However, our sponsors leaned in and we raised more than $75,000 to support the Red Cross mission. We led community coalitions to build resiliency, provide training, and build capacity in 4 vulnerable communities, including Compton, Wilmington, Huntington Park, Walnut Park, and Pico Rivera, 3 preparedness coalitions in East LA, Bell, and Paramount, and 10 communities of focus as part of Prepare LA. In collaboration with our resiliency coalitions, we distribute $100,000 PPE and COVID PPE safety information to more than 8,000 people hardest hit by the pandemic in cities like Compton, Linwood, Wilmington and San Pedro. We provided preparedness training virtually to 554 children and 3,853 adults, made 100 homes safer, provided comfort and hope by responding to 104 DAT calls and helping 713 individuals. We held 559 mobile blood drives with nearly 25,000 red blood cell donations collected, engaged 3 youth corps with 30 active clubs and more than 1,000 youth volunteers who raised funds and provided training and education about international humanitarian law to more than 738 people. We engaged 16 SAF volunteers who distributed more than 1,000 PPE and canteen items and hosted an online resiliency workshop and 3 blood drives at the Los Angeles Air Force Base. And we also assisted over 1,400 military families through critical community and emergency communication services. On behalf of all who served this past year, thank you. It is because of you that we can fulfill our mission, and we are immensely grateful.
The Red Cross story has been passionately told by the following departments. They have encapsulated what we hold dear and have shared the message with the region. Their amplification has helped us gain exposure and the funding to propel us forward.
We're standing in leaping distance of the Hollywood sign, one of the most iconic of LA's landmarks. The sign is featured in hundreds of movies and TV shows, and I feel like it can be seen from any direction. Its communicative powers is precisely one of the reasons it was built. It was a real estate sign, informing potential buyers that this land from the sign down is the foot of the hills and the Hollywood land area. Its basic message remains the same. We're in a place where magic is possible and dreams can come true. For the LA Region's communications team, this is an aspiration they try to achieve. The fiscal year began with the start of disaster season. The team went into action immediately by helping the Hawaii region as prepared for the onset of Hurricane Douglas. And from that moment on, it didn't let up till the end of 2020. As many of us know, this was the worst wildfire season our region has faced. And in July 2020, wildfires erupted up and down the coast and in our own region's backyard. The Red Cross LA sprang into action by supporting our neighbors and deploying more than 300 staff and volunteers up and down the West Coast. Many of us volunteering for public affairs, role of storytellers, public affairs, and video and photography. Many of our items and team members appeared on several national campaigns. In addition to the massive deployments of the fall of 2020, September was National Preparedness Month, and the I'm Ready was re-released to encourage community members to prepare for a disaster. The successful campaign was stopped short as the fires blazing across the West Coast pushed more and more team members to deploy with many communications volunteers such as Peter Kayesis, Dave Hawkshurst, Carmela Burke, Mimi Teller, Alex Flatney, and Craig Rosensky, all showing up for duty, some in person, and of course others on teams. Of course, the year can't go by without addressing the massive elephant in the room, COVID-19. Which actually pushed our department to explore virtual paths. We educated others on the safety protocols, the symptoms of COVID-19, the importance of quarantine, and of course, how someone would be able to obtain our services when evacuating from the wildfires. As big as the communications efforts were behind these disasters, there were blue sky efforts that made the impression across LA and beyond. The Red Cross emblem and its mission it represents was brought to a new audience in a big way. By creating and releasing online virtual presentations with innovative productions for hometown heroes and Too Close to the Vest storytelling events, to name a few. Appearing besides Mayor Eric Garcetti during the launch of our PPE campaigns, investing in local radio stations to actively promote messages reaching our at-risk vulnerable communities, establishing increased live stream programming with remarkable success such as community conversations and life-saving awards, and for Red Cross Month, working with ABC7 to promote and bring attention to our region, splashing red across the US Bank Towers, SoFi Stadiums, and the Santa Monica Ferris Wheel. Working with Development Department to promote and carry out one of the biggest celebrations. And even with with our offices closed, our Red Cross LA photographers and videographers have continued to bring images of the outside world and our ongoing mission into our safety, distant homes. The region released 60+ videos with a reach of 12,000 views, the biggest drawing being our Hometown Heroes live stream event, and we photographed 90 events. Our regional Facebook and Twitter accounts climbed past 11,000 followers, LinkedIn passed 3,000, and our Instagram passed 6,000. Our efforts were mentioned in local media 4,000 times with an ad equivalency of 5.5 million and an aggregate readership of more than 2 billion, double our readership from fiscal year 20. By all measures, it was a big year, and since this is potentially the biggest annual meeting we've hosted, we won't miss an opportunity to ask. Make sure you follow us at Red Cross LA and use our hashtag #RedCrossLA.
The building of the downtown LA headquarters of the American Red Cross Los Angeles region has truly been a labor of love. From its inception to its completion, the development team has walked step by step with operations through the entire process. Knowing every detail, working to name the rooms and helping to celebrate its launch, the development team took a lot of care and energy to help display the Red Cross in the best ways possible. Unfortunately, after moving in and enjoying the building for just a few months, this past year we have been away and were not able to walk these halls or respond to disasters from the EOC. The building has missed our energy and missed our call to action. Now the doors have reopened and we are slowly returning. Regardless of its use, the downtown LA headquarters will always serve as a reminder about the care development puts into all of its campaigns. And this year, with 2 more weeks until the end of the fiscal year, and after a long year of personal and professional hardship, I am excited to say that we raised our annual goal of over $13 million. This is a tremendous accomplishment worthy of celebrating. This year was by far the most challenging fundraising year yet. Corporations, individual donors and foundations were all impacted by the economic downturn. But our team quickly adjusted to this new fundraising landscape, and we saw donors rise to the challenge, giving what they can to further the Red Cross mission. Through hard work and a lot of perseverance, the team launched a successful naming campaign for the Southern California Blood Services headquarters in Pomona and exceeded all programmatic fundraising goals, including leading divisional fundraising for the board campaign, the Home Fire campaign, and our Biomed campaigns. In fact, the Biomed campaign leaned in to raise money to support building a diverse blood supply through our sickle cell campaign and is looking forward to raising money for important initiatives like our Fighting Cancer program in the coming months. A massive congratulations to the entire development team, my team, on a job well done. As we all know, the start of FY21 was a whirlwind as we collectively faced the impacts of relentless disasters compounded by COVID-19. In July, we launched our I'm Ready, We're Ready campaign to encourage individuals and companies to ready themselves for emergencies while raising funds to increase the Red Cross's capacity to respond to disasters. At the onset of the wildfire responses, we activated our disaster fundraising action plan and raised more than $1 million to support relief efforts along the West Coast. LA companies and the entertainment industry were not untouched by the pandemic, making corporate fundraising even more challenging. The steadfast commitment of companies such as Howmet Aerospace, Reliance Steel and Aluminum, Disney and Edison International, who increased their giving this year, are proof that LA companies, even through the most turbulent times, care about the Red Cross, and through our work, they truly believe in the resilience of this community. The development team focused on some of LA's leading foundations and philanthropists, including securing a $1.2 million donation from the Henderson family. This truly life-saving gift helped the individual fundraising team exceed their goal, raising a total of $6 million, which is unheard of in LA without a major LA-based disaster or a level 7 hurricane. Our foundations team adjusted to a new grant-making landscape by pivoting many of our foundations to granting funds for wildfire relief, working with the California Community Foundation to support our wildfire relief efforts and our work with the Latino engagement team. In the spring, we launched the March is Red Cross Month campaign, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars on Red Cross Giving Day. And thanks to our board and Tiffany Circle members, we raised more than $120,000 specifically for Red Cross essential workers whose lives have been upended by the pandemic. We also hosted, for the first time ever, our virtual Red Cross Stories fundraising event. Celebrities like Pierce Brosnan, Rita Rudner, Chloe Coleman, and Charles Malik Whitfield joined us to tell powerful and heartfelt stories. In the face of personal trials, rejections, and many long, tiresome days, this team pulled through with compassion and grit, showing just how strong we all are and emphasizing more than ever that we are truly all in this together.
Each year, we honor 3 individuals or partners or groups with the Golden Smoke Alarm Award, the Chair's Excellence Award, and the CEO Award for Volunteer Excellence. Congratulations to all those who are honored for their hard work and dedication to help us reach excellence.
Thank you, everyone. We have come to the program finale, handing out 3 annual awards. Each year, the chair of the Regional Board of Directors is given the honor of selecting a community partner that has truly enhanced the Red Cross mission and worked with the LA region to provide outstanding service. It's my great pleasure to be presenting the Chairman's Excellence Award this year. This year, the Chairman's Excellence Award goes to the California Community Foundation, CCF. Last year, following the state's most horrific wildfire season that you know all too much about, the Red Cross went into action to alleviate disaster-induced suffering, and joining us in this quest was CCF, who through their Wildlife Relief Fund helped us expand our work with the Latino engagement team to support our Latino communities vulnerable to and affected by these disasters. CCF support doesn't even end there. Through their subrecipient grants, CCF provided 9 total grants to Prepare LA coalitions, enabling us to extend and expand the COVID-19 rapid response operation, serving our most vulnerable communities disproportionately affected by COVID-19. And so it's my honor to welcome Antonia Hernandez, President and Chief Executive Officer of the California Community Foundation, to our annual meeting and award her and her amazing team with the Chairman's Excellence Award.
I am humbled to receive the Chairman Award on behalf of the California Community Foundation during this virtual luncheon. I would like to thank Joanne Nolan, the Regional Chief Executive for Los Angeles, and Bruce Bunker Daly, Board Chair, for your leadership. I hope to be able to see you in person very soon. Thank you. Since 2003, the California Community Foundation has supported relief and recovery efforts in the aftermath of the devastating California wildfires through our Wildfire Relief Fund. And for the fund's 2020 grant supported work focused on the population most vulnerable to these disasters. I am enormously proud to say that as of January of this year, the fund has provided more than $4 million in relief, recovery, and resilience grants to the community.
As the CEO for the Los Angeles region of the American Red Cross, it is my honor to present the Award for Volunteer Excellence. This award goes to the individual, partner, or group of volunteers who have shown extraordinary effort for the mission of the Red Cross. Last year, the award was presented to hundreds of volunteers who supported our efforts with the LA Unified School District in the face of COVID-19. Previously, Pam Hathaway, our volunteer, was awarded for her work in mapping that has been the basis for our Prepare LA campaign. As you can see, this award goes to not only those who have gone above and beyond, but have launched and been a part of a movement that has had an impact in the LA region. I'm excited to announce that the CEO Award for Volunteer Excellence goes to Bernie Nazari and the entire Rapid Response Operation team of volunteers. This outreach program truly reached the community at a ground level to deliver life-saving PPE, information, and services to at-risk and vulnerable communities. I also need to add that this award is going to volunteers, but would also like to acknowledge a particular staff member, Norma Vega, our Chief External Relations and Strategy Officer. This program was her brainchild, her ingenuity, and her perseverance. Congratulations to all involved, and thank you for your dedication and work. What you did for the community was not just a service, but a life-saving effort.
So last year, when the Red Cross canceled all in-person sound the alarm events, we knew one thing. COVID would not stop us from our responsibility to prepare communities for home fires. With that knowledge, we went to work. And a huge thanks to all of those who came up with innovative methods to educate across the region. From videos to Facebook Fridays to quizzes, we tried to leave no stone unturned. And this year, because of these efforts, we were able to bring back the Golden Smoke Alarm, most coveted award, which is given to those who install the most alarms. And this year has been given for efforts to educate community members about home fire safety. While usually given to a territory, this year the overall winner of the Golden Smoke Alarm is our Youth and Young Adult Services team. Under the passionate leadership of Matthew Martinez, this team stepped up their efforts and as of May 31st has conducted more than 100 Homes Made Safer presentations. They've done exemplary work this year and pushed the envelope of what we could safely do under very difficult circumstances. It was my pleasure to give this award on behalf of the team to Matthew Martinez. Well done to both Matthew and the Youth and Young Adult Services team. Thank you for your continued efforts. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is such an incredible honor. From the Youth Services team, thank you to all who have supported our efforts, and to our amazing youth volunteers from the Ready Teens program who have worked to complete so many virtual trainings. Your work has truly made Los Angeles safer. Thank you again, and go Youth Services.
Thank you, LA Region, for attending today. Thank you for all of your work, dedication, and compassion through one of our toughest years. As we put fiscal year 21 to bed and start a new chapter in what is predicted to be another tough year, we know that our resilience, partnership, and commitment will carry us through. Thank you for volunteering your time, donating blood, and supporting the region financially. We'll see you next year at the 2022 annual meeting.